One day, while in engineering school, I learned that recent graduates could conduct research missions in Antarctica. I was immediately interested in the idea of being in a place I never imagined I could go, so I applied, and to my great surprise, was accepted. A few days before I left, my family gave me this small camera, telling me it's so that you can show us what you're about to experience. And that's how I was able to record a year that I will certainly never forget. Jonathan Zachariah gave us dozens of hours of video, unusual and unique images from an adventure that lasted exactly 1 year in a part of the world that is inaccessible to virtually everyone. He filmed everywhere, all the time, to remember everything, to be sure that it wasn't a dream, but indeed a reality. He filmed the lives of the people and the animals freely, with no preconceived idea, while recording his most intimate thoughts in his journal. Here then is Icebound, moments selected from an intimate logbook, moments of eternity as well. 1 year in the life of a man living in the White Empire, Antarctica, the 7th continent. December 3rd, Jonathan's journal starts with these words. Finally, it's D-Day. We're leaving, but I still hate planes as much as ever. My stomach is already tied in knots. Since we left Paris, I haven't spoken a word to anyone. And it'll stay this way for the entire trip, as far as Hong Kong and the southern tip of Australia. A 30-hour flight I'm already trying to forget. The Astrolabe is waiting for us, the only ship at the docks in Hobart Harbor. Suddenly I feel a bit lightheaded, with the strange sensation of no longer being able to turn back. The mission chief comes around to greet us one by one as if to reassure us. And suddenly we lift anchor. There's no one at the dock to wave us off. We leave quietly and set sail to the south. Without a keel, the Astrolabe floats like a cork. This must be why it's nicknamed the Gastrolabe. Hey man, the Antarctic, you have to earn it. That's about the only reassuring words I heard. There's nothing to do for 7 days but sleep, to forget the 1,700 miles separating us from the frozen land of Antarctica. The crew on the top deck plots our course. The trip feels endless. And then suddenly, as if in a dream, I'm in a postcard. It's magical. Nothing can stop us. Not even these enormous chunks of ice we slip past. We're almost there. My first iceberg. It's gigantic, terrifying. And in the distance, the station, my new home for 1 year. I know there have been polar missions here for 50 years, but I still feel like a pioneer. Proud to be here. Proud to have come so far already. Finally, the astrolabe stops. But there's no time to relax, not a minute to lose. End of the line, everyone off. Well, almost everyone. After experiencing my worst bout of seasickness ever, sailed by my first icebergs, sighted my first penguins, I climb aboard for my first helicopter trip. I try to film what will be my refuge for 1 year, a labyrinth of iron that dozens of people have worked so hard to construct. One by one, the 26 members of the 55th mission in Terre d'Ali finally disembark on Petrel Island, the largest in the archipelago. I've made it, finally, and I set my bags down in this spot where I'll live for a full year. For me, it's like a dream come true. After 4 long years of waiting and a very long trip. And this small 100 square foot room, furnished with only a light, a desk, a closet, and a bed, will be my only refuge for the overwinter that awaits. Jonathan has just set foot on the highest, windiest, driest, and coldest continent on Earth. Antarctica. The ultimate destination for the most foolhardy explorers, starting with Jules Dumont d'Urville, the first Frenchman to reach the coast in 1840, and who named this patch of land from the coastline to the geological pole for his wife. Concordia, the Franco-Italian station, and the Mario Zucchelli coastal station are some 600 miles from here. On this day, Jonathan writes, "I discovered the station, a small outpost built on pilings in the 1950s, with rectangular buildings and countless walkways. Some people probably think we're still heating with seal fat and sleeping in tents. Obviously, that's not the case. It's perfectly comfortable, much better than I'd imagined. The penguins, more than 70,000 of them, are everywhere. What's amazing here is that the people and animals coexist peaceably. It's like a fairy tale. We watch each other and we accept each other's presence as if we had always lived together. Other tiny birds arrive for the short, temperate Antarctic summer to reproduce. Life flourishes. It's everywhere, noisy and smelly, all around us. But we have to survive at Dumont d'Urville. We store tons of food for 1 year. This is the main summer chore. A few people are already starting to complain and tell me that I should help them rather than film. They're right. But it looks like they're doing just fine without me. Receptions and protocol have never been my thing. To mark the occasion, the 54th mission says goodbye, as easy as that. But I can see that the groups formed over the year. Everyone seemed to be avoiding each other's eyes. It all feels very heavy, almost unbearable. Outside, the deep blue sea. Given the temperature, it's not really weather for bathing suits, but apparently there's a tradition, and we'll look back fondly at this. Maybe. Or maybe not. Initially, the weather seemed to be extraordinarily mild. The air was dry and I wasn't really cold, but I learned fast. In the summer, the weather changes and can shift violently in just a few minutes. It's a real trial by fire at 4 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. I go outside and I'm amazed at the bravery of the Adelie penguins, standing motionless in the storm, prisoners of their eggs. I still haven't started my work. I have time, so I observe people and fill up cassettes to pass the time. Paul is a meteorologist. He left his wife and children behind to spend a year here. That takes courage. Like his predecessor, he launches balloons day after day to measure the ozone levels in the atmosphere. It's not an easy job. All the labs are busy. I don't understand everything that's going on, but it doesn't matter. I keep filming. They tell me these are all routine maneuvers, data gathered that researchers will analyze later. It's meticulous work, contributing to scientific progress. Another meal, yet again. It's a gathering that reflects our society. People from all different backgrounds. From the baker to the doctor, along with the mechanic and the biologist. Everyone lives together, at least in the surface. But fewer in number, the women become princesses, and the men, well, the men are still men. Suddenly, I don't know what to think anymore. Torn between wanting to laugh and cry. Christmas. A family celebration far from family. It doesn't make any sense, at least to me. We sing, we drink, we pass the time, and for what? I'm depressed, feeling a bit of the blues.
Au fil des jours, j'utilise de plus en plus ma caméra, en particulier en compagnie des animaux.
I feel more and more as the days go by, especially around the animals. It's extraordinary. In Antarctica, they have never been hunted by man. And I find myself in the footsteps of those wildlife filmmakers who fascinated me so much as a child. And I'm the fortunate witness to the most magical moments nature has to offer. And then one day, Jonathan writes, like in the American comics, even here the good guys and the bad guys face off. Life and death, the way it's always been. The good guys are the Adelie penguins. Because they have to eat, they leave their nest for a bit of lazy fun, far from their offspring. And in the role of the bad guys, the skuas, ruthless predators with sharp beaks and black eyes. Racked by hunger, they can only think of one thing, filling their stomachs. But there's no swashbuckling hero to swoop in to save the innocents. Here, as elsewhere, the immutable laws of nature rule. And might is always right. Suddenly, the sun never sets. The days are endless. It feels like the day has only just started, but it's already midnight. No one is prepared for this, and we're all a bit lost. Most of all, it's exhausting. Guillaume loves his work. He's an ornithologist, the perfect job if you're lucky enough to be here. He observes, tags, notes the location of dozens of birds, and monitors their health all around the archipelago. His playground is immense, larger than any child's dream. And with him, I once again become one of those kids, exhilarated by real-life adventure. I worry about the Adelaide chicks, but they make me laugh. At 35 degrees Fahrenheit, it's a heat wave. They can't take off that thick coat of fur that protects them so well. I've never liked goodbyes. But truth be told, I've been waiting for this moment like a fledgling waits for its flight feathers. Soon I'll be alone, or very nearly. The summer residents have left, as have the last outgoing overwintering staff. This is the Astrolabe's last rotation, R4 as it's called here. Rather suddenly, we dropped from 88 people to 26. My pool of friends has narrowed, but the real adventure is finally about to begin. Goodbye, guys. I'm staying. At that very moment, I realized that I won't see the Astrolabe again for 8 months. The 24 men and 2 women on our mission will have to solve all our technical and human problems alone, without any help from the outside.
Et puis, dans les semaines à
And
venir,
then in the
nous allons
upcoming
assister
weeks,
à un
we see an
événement
extraordinary
extraordinaire.
event. Paradoxically, the source of our isolation will open up new horizons for us. Here's what Jonathan has to say next in his journal. The animals I've been filming regularly have all just left, forced out by the cold. The silence is becoming oppressive. The station is deserted. Nothing is moving. We're finally alone on this island, finally about to experience the Ice Age. Little by little, I watch as the ice starts to close in on the open water. I carefully observe the slow formation of the sea ice, which will expand our freedom of movement, even though we're imprisoned on Antarctica. Men have died for venturing out on thin ice. We have to wait a while longer. Gradually, as we watch, the water is turned to ice, and our range of exploration now extends far beyond the horizon. Now that the backdrop is in place, the emperor penguins can take the stage. For the moment, I'm happy to watch them from a distance. I never dreamed that one day I would be able to watch my own personal version of March of the Penguins. So long for this moment, to be able to film the majestic emperor in his realm of ice. I can't stand the routine and the monotony of everyday life anymore. Every day is exactly like the one before. And because I don't know what to do, I film anything, everything, always the same thing over and over. All that changes gradually are the landscapes and the animals outside, my only interest. Nothing ever happens. The worst is that the smallest disagreement takes on enormous proportions. I feel like I'm in preschool, where the kids bicker over nothing. And no one does anything ever to change things. Nothing but the routine job.
Ah ouais, beau menu là.
Sur un Ricard, sur un crevard.
Oh là.
A birthday to kill some time, yet another one. And everything changes.
Là, ça devient vraiment efficace, c'est vraiment génial. Aïe, 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 ça tape, hein. La bombe, la bombe.
In the midst of the chaos, I try to forget these idiots who are making me drink, the lack of tenderness, no female company, everything that makes us who we are. We're here, lobotomized humanoids at the end of the earth. I experiment, I explore the void, abyss, all in the name of science.
When I became the sun, I shone life into the man's heart. When I became the sun, I shone life into the man's heart.
La radio pour Eric.
Oui, Eric, je t'écoute.
Ouais, c'est pour te signaler, donc je suis au niveau du portique, on va sur la Manchotière avec Jonathan.
Ok, bien reçu.
The only efficient cure for a hangover is a good dose of fresh air at 14 degrees Fahrenheit. I follow Michael, who has temporarily abandoned the Adelies and is now concentrating on his winter subject, the emperor penguins. How do the animals manage to survive here? Why do they reproduce in the middle of winter when all the other Antarctic species have left? This is what Michael is trying to find out. To do so, he has to catch a few, which is also good for a few laughs. The Emperor is woken up. He has no idea that with the transmitter placed in his abdomen, scientists will spy on him day and night for weeks on end. This is the last time this experiment will be conducted. From now on, no emperors will ever undergo this intervention, as decreed by the Ethics Committee of the Polar Institute. It pays to be a movie star. Jonathan also films the scientists' work as they measure the three components of the magnetic field from the observatory installed in 1957 at Dumont d'Urville. You may not know it, but the pole shifts. In 1970, it was even located right below the station. Henri's work is to understand the structure of the Earth. He takes seismic recordings of compression and shear waves. The powerful Sumatra earthquake that triggered the deadly tsunami of December 25, 2004 was felt and measured at Dumont d'Urville.
Ah, c'est le vin australien.
C'est... AS, ah ouais, et comme dans les grands matchs, mon pauvre, regarde.
I never imagined I would be able to film a soccer match, writes Jonathan in his journal. Because how do you mark out the white lines on the sea ice? But nothing's impossible for the guys of the 55th mission, who came up with the brilliant idea of recycling boxes of wine. Not a bad plan. There's no end to the ideas you can come up with to kill time. But we had a great time. An unrelenting winter has closed in on the station. and the colony of emperor penguins now has to withstand winds exceeding 110 miles per hour and temperatures of 40 below zero. Huddled tightly together, they can survive the worst weather. I'm cold, but I spend hours filming the lords of the ice as they stand on and on throughout the winter. Clearing snow in Antarctica is like emptying the ocean with a teaspoon, an endless task. Except here it's essential, a matter of survival, and in any case, it keeps us busy. After nearly 6 months wintering at the station, one of the only ways we have to escape the drudge of daily life, where we live in such close quarters, is to go outside alone, regardless of the weather, and listen to the silence of the white desert. That's one of the reasons I wanted to come here. Jonathan writes these words: "Alone in a jumble of ice, I admire the sun as it races across the globe. It no longer rises. It will be like this for 3 months. Suddenly I'm confused. Icebergs are floating on the horizon, then they disappear. It's magical." And then one day you take off, farther from the station than ever before, deliberately getting lost in the immense white desert, ending up face to face with yourself, fighting your demons, even defying death. I'll never do this again, yet I really needed to do it. I'm fairly proud of the job they gave me, even if I have to work at night and even though I'm totally exhausted right now. The machine is called the LIDAR. With its ultra-powerful laser, it measures the ozone in the atmosphere. I was 5 years old when they first discovered the hole in the ozone layer. At the time, the CFCs and refrigerators were quietly transforming our good old planet into a desert via the greenhouse effect. CFCs are now banned, but the problem is all the rest of the stuff we're still putting into the air.
It's disgusting. You say that now. This little bad boy gets the ladies where they're trying to go every time.
Outside, nature has created one of the most beautiful shows I was lucky enough to see here. The magical, spellbinding Aurora Australis.
Vendredi soir, je reviens aux affaires. Qui sera à ma place dans ce cadre pour les 4 jours à venir?
Finally, it's midwinter, the celebration we've been anticipating for weeks. Earlier teams invented it so that they wouldn't crack during the long winter nights. We've now crossed the midway point and have less time ahead than what we've already spent. We've crossed a psychological barrier. We put our grudges behind us and live one day at a time. Inside the turtle formation is 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Turtle is truly the right word. The emperors form a compact huddle to withstand the storm. It seems miraculous, but it works. And yet another miracle. The emperor chicks are starting to peck their way out of their eggs. Here, more than anywhere else, life triumphs. All the researchers are out on the ice, testing, digging, taking samples, exploring farther and farther each time. The goal is to probe the mysteries of the creation of life, to better protect it. Over the months, I've learned to make good use of my small camera, and I'm fairly proud of the results. All this because of a fascination for animals that started quietly and has now become an obsession. It's fantastic to live so close to the emperors, to feel them, listen to them, to watch how they live and see them grow up. In addition, I'm surrounded by specialists. I learned that the males have broken their fast. They haven't eaten anything in the past 4 months and have lost half their body weight. It's incredible. The females are finally about to take their place. The rookery, which has been quiet these last 2 months, has suddenly come to life. Couples are reunited. The chicks have to be fed. I don't know why, but I don't really feel a need to call home, like Eric, even though the satellite telephone is so accessible. Why call? What would I say? I'm happy with a few emails, enough to reassure everyone.
Hein? Alors?
Ça, c'est la pompe d'air.
Ah là, les yeux brillants.
There are 2 things we take very seriously here: the electric power plant that we pamper like a princess 24 hours a day, and garbage disposal.
Un monorail vide-ordures à benne automatique se charge de ce qui était la corvée, et quelle corvée en plein hiver.
The pioneers in Antarctica didn't think twice about tossing junk like this in the ocean. At the time, they treated the Earth like a garbage dump, doing whatever they pleased, including disturbing the emperors, or worse, as the animals had their first experience with human kindness.
Aussitôt à terre, une rencontre s'impose avec les autochtones les plus représentatifs. Par le poids, ce sont les phoques.
It's good they kept films like this. We can't ever forget what we've done. Fortunately, our behavior toward wild animals has changed. It took a few decades to understand just how destructive certain actions were. Researchers now work with a total respect for the animals they study, something I can vouch for. The annual count of the Weddells has begun. These imposing seals return to the islands in late summer to give birth and then breed again. There are more than 600 this year. As time goes by, I realize more and more just how lucky I am to be here, to be able to film a scene like this. I still can't believe I saw this pup being born, going from 98.6 to -4 degrees Fahrenheit as easy as pie. Unfortunately, I forgot to hit the record button.
C'est la saucisse du reste. Ouais, Loïc, on va couvrir de côté à l'eau. Ça reste chaud.
A birthday party for Eric known as Crayon or Pencil. I won't soon forget this one. It's the last birthday before we leave. So why do we call him Crayon? Who knows? I just have to remember that Gérard Jugnot's Une époque formidable was his all-time favorite movie. We must have watched it 20 times. Obviously, because we don't have anything else, we give him a gag gift, the famous blue plastic crate, to remind me of the night he fell asleep with it, whispering how much he loved it. And it looks like Crayon may snuggle up to the crate again tonight to keep that love story going. R0, the first rotation, our first contact. New faces, male. All this marks the end of our isolation.
Oh Chab, tout
Ça,
ce
c'est
que
mon
t'as
paquet
eu.
de 24 de l'année dernière.
Il est arrivé?
Il est arrivé.
Superbe.
8 mois après.
8 mois. Oh, c'est pas long, 8 mois. Hein?
Non.
Ça fait un hivernage, quoi.
With the new arrivals, we don't feel like we have the place to ourselves anymore. Appearing from nowhere, like small, frenetic robots all recently wound up, dozens of Adelie penguins return to their territory. Where did they come from? What were they doing all this time? And how many died of hunger or exhaustion on their way here? I'm moved to see them again. They're so endearing. But the fierce instinct for dominance has already appeared in the group. There are no branches or leaves for the nest, just a few carefully placed stones, until an unscrupulous thief takes off with his loot to give to his partner. And that's how they make friends in the rookery. All the species have returned, but the reunions are sometimes painful. 2 snow petrels are already fighting. Perhaps believing there aren't enough females for everyone, 2 males have come to blows. They're not splattered with blood, but with regurgitated krill. I'm very moved, because 1 year ago, I saw the Adelie chicks hatch. Once again, it's reproduction time for the next generation. A full year has passed. We've come full circle. I don't even recognize the Waddell seal pups, who are now almost as large as their mothers. As for the docile emperor penguins, they must constantly regurgitate fish to feed their chicks until they too leave to live the life of an emperor. The ice breaks up, putting an end to my solitary escapes, my challenges, when I could walk as far as possible without stopping. Walking on the sea ice had become as easy as strolling down a street in Paris. A year has gone by, and for me, it's all over. With the arrival of the astrolabe, we get ready to leave this almost perfect world, a world without poverty, without illness, war, or famine. I'm sure we all feel the same thing, an emptiness, a promised land that's slipping away as we watch. I don't think we've ever felt so close to each other as we do today.
Et puis soudain,
Then
je me
suddenly,
retrouve à bord de
I find myself on board the astrolabe, exactly like those I greeted last year. It feels strange. I'm sad to leave this adventure behind for good, but also happy to get back to those who've been waiting for me. Above all, this year spent in Antarctica made me aware that life is fragile here. I sincerely hope that my images don't become a symbol of a lost era, but that they last, and that other people will be able to see the same things I did, and have their own extraordinary experiences.